Hey, how's everybody doing today? It has been quite a wild ride this past week and a half. I haven't live streamed in a while, and I actually forgot to turn on my lights. But, yeah. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I was traveling a little bit myself, but today we got a good one. We're going to be basically building out a fresh Debian install. Now, people have seen my install on my desktop a bit and want to replicate it. Today, we're going to be taking the GitHub project that's actually pinned, it's the top comment pinned today, and kind of building it out, trying to make it easy for folks to replicate what I've built here, and then we're just going to slowly build on that. Obviously, this is still, I would say, like alpha stages, so to speak, but something really fun. So that's kind of what's going on. It should be kind of a cool project. I absolutely love this project. I probably shouldn't spend as much time on it as I could because it means less videos a lot of times. But I don't know. It's just something that I really just get a lot of enjoyment out of. And I hope you guys too, because a lot of times I'm always crapping on distros or whatever it might be. And I think it's easier to criticize someone else's work than just to make your own stuff. So that's what we're doing today, is just kind of building out our own, or kind of looking at influences of other things that we do like and then bringing it in. And we've got a pretty good mix right now, I think, of what the desktop looks like. And I'll jump down to the desktop here in just a second. I'll just catch up with chat here. Hope everybody's doing great. I'm probably a little bit rusty. I haven't done jack in probably a week, so it's fun. Now I do have Arch Titus, which is completely separate and different. This is going to be all Debian based. To me, really, when it comes to Linux, there's only two distributions: Debian and Arch. Everything else, when it comes to desktop Linux, is kind of a waste of time, in my opinion, because everything's either based off Debian or Arch. There's a couple little oddballs here and there, SUSE and Fedora, but really nobody ever takes them very seriously, and they don't have practically any market share among Linux desktop users. So that's kind of why I just like, Debian and Arch really are all you ever need. People are like, hey, what about this other distro? I'm like, yeah, that's either Arch-based or, oh, that's Debian-based. Typically, anytime someone says, hey, look at this, it's one or the other. And really what I don't like about Linux desktop just in general is most people are always like, try out this distro. It's a fork of a fork. And I'm just like, whatevs. It's all the same. So, project name, we don't know. I don't even know what we'll call it yet. It's Debian, really. That's what it is. I mean, it's not like I'm going to make my own. Well, I say I'm not going to make my own repository, but I wanted some features from Arch, so we have to build some packages that I like, specifically like Polybar. Rofi on Debian-based systems is like 1.54, which is a really old version. So I had to build out that package. So I might end up hosting my own repository, but the base repository is going to be forever going to be Debian. I like just being on that base layer. That way you're not worrying about some upstream change, because I know those Debian guys, they literally can do no wrong in my eyes. I've been on SID, I've been on testing, I've been on Bookworm, Bullseye, all the different Debian releases, and I swear I've never had anything break. I think I've had a couple like minor bugs and stuff here and there, but I mean nothing. I mean, honestly, nothing that even bothered me. So that's why most of us use Fedora. Fedora does have a good community for sure. I actually started Linux desktop on Fedora, so that's it. Can you please take out snapd? There's no snapd in Debian. That's not a thing. That's Ubuntu, John, that has snapd. Typically, anytime I use like Ubuntu as a base, that's the first thing I usually do, a purge of snapd that usually gets rid of all the stuff, and then I might do like a task SELL and just grab like Kubuntu or whatever I might be rolling that day. But yeah. Did you finish the year on Debian? I think you're talking back, Kevin, in 2019. I don't think I did the whole year. I think I did like 6 months, and then I got bored. Mainly because nothing broke. So I was like, let's try Arch. It's a little more exciting. And yeah, so that's kind of why I did that. But I've been on Debian for a while now. I think I switched back off of Arch probably like a month or two ago now, I think. So yeah, vanilla Debian's kind of what I've been rocking. I use Arch. Chris, I have a question. Yeah, hit me up, man. How is your Debian Titus going? Here, let me pull the green screen down and let's check it out. Yeah. So this is what we're looking at right now. Oh, let's just go to, what do we got? Do I have anything else open? I think we're good. What's in my? That's great. I'm working on a shirt design. All right. So this is kind of what we got. It's BSPWM for the window management. For the start menu, I kind of still toying with this a little bit, but basically it's a Rofi theme to where we can just kind of pick what we want here, or you could just type what you want to launch into your thing. I'm tempted to switch this to like a combi menu that shows open applications. So I'm kind of waffling a little bit on the menu here. Start menu, this is kind of what we're looking at for the theming on this one. This kind of like locks the computer, reboot, power off, suspend, log out. Notifications still got to work on. Still got to do an interactive menu for some of the networking here. This is like a little calendar deal, which is kind of cool. I like that. Some people were talking about my audio. I think it was stuck at like 103%, and someone even commented like, dude, my OCD is dying because he's putting it on like 103%. But yeah, we could actually right click to launch into like Pavu control. And this is all Pipewire based as well. So none of that old Pulse audio garbage for the most part. So the back end is actually mostly Pipewire. And then let's see, what else do we want to show? Probably the prompt I'm not a big fan of. I'm still working on it, but mainly it's a Starship prompt. And this is kind of where we're sitting. Right now it's on Debian SID. And if we just do apt sources, all we're doing is just SID for my repositories. So I'm not grabbing anything from any other repositories other than just SID. Now, this is where it kind of gets a little interesting. Is if we look, what is my GitHub? I think Debian Titus. Do I have anything here? Let me pull any. Now we're up to date. A couple different custom packages here. If we look, I did spin up Rofi and compiled all this. Other than Rofi, I think I do need to grab like Polybar. No, Polybar is actually in SID, but it's not in Bookworm or any older Debian repository. So I think we'll just leave it on SID. So that's kind of like everything going on in a nutshell. So now we're going to basically take all of this and see how we can recreate it. Because if we come over into our GitHub, which is the top pinned comment here, let's see. You should be able to see, where are you at? Right here is kind of like I started grabbing some like basic things here, but we probably need to do some better documentation. Hey, how to change it to SID and how to do a proper update, how to install it. We'll probably do like a custom ISO as well, just so it has all these things built in and baked in. Pretty easy. So this is almost like if Arch and Debian had a baby, this is kind of what you get, except no AUR, of course. But the whole idea is to have a very cohesive and easy system to work with. So that's kind of where we're at, kind of what we're looking at. I hope that makes sense, guys. Are PPAs supported on Debian? No, PPAs are Ubuntu only. So that's it. Yeah, Ubuntu comes with snapd every time automatically for sure. So if you're ever, let me get over here. Yeah, so it does come with snapd loaded by default. I think ever since Ubuntu 18, that's the case. I've always just purged it and then did like an apt mark hold snapd. That just kind of prevents it from coming back. So that's pretty easy. And again, PPAs aren't a thing on Debian. Don't use PPAs. I've never been a big fan of them. And too many times I see people that roll a Debian-based distro and they add 20 repositories, and that's just That's just cringe. It's like running apt get and arch. Don't do that. So yeah, so this is kind of the update to what it's looking like. And today, let's start doing commits to GitHub and start building out. So if you want to tinker around with this as well, I'll go ahead and do that. I just wanted to kind of get a good base in before I teach people how to install it, because I don't want people trying to do too many pull requests, because when you're changing a ton of stuff in the beginning of a project, you might get like 10 pull requests for all these different issues. So I wanted to get a lot of like the base really hammered in and solid before it's trying to change crazy amounts of stuff. And I think we got a pretty good base to where we can do that now. Afternoon, Charles. So the project is, like I said, it's like I would consider alpha stages. Today, let's build out the skeleton. So if you are like an intermediate or expert Linux user, you could probably follow these steps to get it going. Or maybe even some noobs. I mean, it depends on how well the documentation goes. But again, right now it's pretty sparse to where nobody can really recreate it, because only I have it up here, and we need to do a brain dump into like the README file and maybe even build out a wiki. We'll see how crazy we get. Yeah, so Arch doesn't break after every update, but Arch is not very good for, let's say you go a month without updating. Sometimes you can have key packages. Also, the key server in Arch is awful, just terrible. So what you want to do if you are rolling Arch, I would highly recommend grabbing the GPG key server from Ubuntu and like hard coding that into your Arch. That's going to make Arch a lot more stable on your updates. And Ubuntu's key server holds almost a crap ton of keys that are just great to have. So I highly recommend you doing that modification if you do run Arch. But yeah, the stock Arch, yeah, it can be a little finicky, especially when you start diving into AUR and installing a bunch of junk. Yeah, I kind of tried to hide that one, Alt 13, and putting it on the second channel. I was like, I don't really want to react. I didn't want to pull his video and watch it verbatim because it was hard for me to make it through the full 20-minute video. Are you building your own interface like KDE or XFCE? Kind of. So this is where I really want to base this more off of server than a desktop. So this is not going to be for a beginning user, just straight up. Because I want it to be as stable as possible, which means everything has to be done through usually scripts. Having said that, there's not really much we need to do. How do you interface with your desktop environment? Set the resolution. Cool. We can do some kind of script for that. Interface with your network. Again, we got to kind of address how we're going to modify the network without hitting the CLI or maybe running a script or two. So there's a couple things we need to look at, but it's going to be pretty basic. And a lot of that means we're not going to have a desktop environment like KDE or XFCE. There's not going to be a system settings menu. There's not going to be a lot of this stuff to where you're going to kind of, what you see is what you get. And the reason why I'm doing that is because, one, I don't want a ton of modifications, and I don't want people to have a whole bunch of problems either. So we'll see how it turns out. I don't know, but it's going to be a minimal environment is basically the thing. So yeah, minimal editions of Arch Titus is already on the way. I'm about to make a branch for that, and this is going to be minimal out of the box. There's not even going to be a desktop environment for Debian Titus, which, again, that's just staying to a really, really small install base means just less problems. So that's why. No, I really hate PowerShell scripting, and Ahmed, I'm not that great with PowerShell. I mean, I say I'm not that great, but I've done a lot of PowerShell scripting. It's just not something I enjoy. So I know I could make a lot of tutorial videos, and I know I could probably do okay on PowerShell scripting and teaching people that. It's just, it kind of sucks the life out of me, and I don't like it. So it's like YouTube's a weird thing. Like, I mean, yeah, you can make like straight up dry tutorial content, but in my experience, you gotta enjoy what you're teaching or what you're doing. Otherwise, it's not enjoyable to watch. And PowerShell scripting is something that's kind of hard to enjoy, so to speak. There's a couple times there's exceptions to that rule, like when I made my whole utility toolbox for Windows. That whole toolbox is neat because I know that's going to bring relief to a lot of people, because there's times where something happens on a system. I'm like, oh, I'll just run my toolbox, pull it up, clack, clack, click a couple buttons, and then it fixes everything for me. That's cool. So that's like one instance where I don't mind PowerShell scripting, because I just know a lot of people benefit from it. But yeah, that's it. So yeah, no DA is going to be on there. There's not going to be a desktop environment. I guess you could install one alongside of it and just like boot into KDE to do system modifications if you wanted. There's nothing stopping that. I even did like a Frankenstein system where we ripped out KWin, which is what the window manager KDE uses, and replaced it with BSPWM, which is what I have right here. And yeah, that's Pop! OS is bad. That's not the apt upstream issue. That was some shenanigans that Pop had. So Debian never had that problem. I've never heard of anybody having that problem on Debian. Again, once you get like a fork of a fork, like Ubuntu is a fork of Debian, and Pop! OS is a fork of Ubuntu. So Pop! OS is actually a fork of Debian down to Ubuntu and a fork of Ubuntu down to Pop! OS. So there's a commit over here with Debian. It gets pulled down to Ubuntu. Ubuntu commits it, and then it gets pulled down to Pop! OS, and it gets Pop! OS commits it. That's why I'm like, I've kind of been real hostile towards like Linux desktop community a lot, because I just think all distributions are just crappy. And I think everyone should either use Debian or Arch, you know, depending on the user in your use case. I've just like given up on every other distribution in the world. Just like use Debian or use Arch. Choose one or the other. You only got two options, in my opinion. There's 1,000 distributions, but honestly, just it's going to be one of those two. That's my stance. I've gotten really just almost forceful with it in recent years. Recent year, I'd say, really. Is there a patch or a way to run Cisco any Connect VPNs on Arch? I don't know. I haven't done any Cisco any Connect VPNs on Arch. Are you thinking like OpenVPN? What kind of VPN is it? I don't know of any Connect. That might be like a proprietary software I'm unfamiliar with. But usually I'm using WireGuard or OpenVPN. And on any Linux system, I'm usually doing like a systemd service, and then just if that service is on, you're connected to the VPN. If that service is off, you're disconnected. So I usually just go into like etc systemd system, create a new service file, do a daemon reload after in doing that service file, and then up and going. So that's how I do all my VPNs on every Linux. Debianitis. Yeah. That's not the official name, Michael. We're gonna we'll see what it ends up being called. I really don't care what it's called. It's really Debian at the end of the day. Yeah, diehard gamer. You know, I mean, if it works for you and it has your gaming library, cool. It's just most gamers will be very dissatisfied with Linux just because, hell, you got Epic Game Store, Origin, you got all these other things, and it just sucks dealing with a lot of that stuff. AnyConnect, okay. Well, yeah, I haven't really used AnyConnect that much. I usually always set up my own VPNs. Categorically state, yeah, I mean, I can say So when I think of a gamer, I think of my brother-in-law. He's like a hardcore gamer. He plays any game that comes out when it gets released. He plays, he plays every single platform. You're talking Epic Games, Steam, all of them. He has everything installed, even independent ones and stuff like League and that type of thing. There's no way he could go in Linux. It's just categorically, I can state it's not for him. If you're an extremely technically savvy gamer, then Linux can work. But you got to be very technically savvy. And so, for a gamer that doesn't really know computers that well, I can categorically say Linux is not for you. Because people just don't know Linux, man. They're going to have problems. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun. That's not to say I don't love Linux and I don't mind gaming on Linux. It's just Windows is a better experience at the end of the day for those that aren't as tech savvy. Yeah, we're going to break something today. We'll see how it goes. Launch up some stuff. Distro does matter. Well, distros are just starting spots. A lot of times I'm using guides from different, like Arch Wiki. A lot of times when I think I was doing GPU pass-through, I was using the Arch Wiki even though I was on a Debian system. I couldn't copy and paste the syntax of the commands, but the idea behind what that guide was teaching me was pretty good, and that's just kind of one of those things. Distro to me doesn't matter as long as you pay attention to manuals and the help command and understanding how to, the different packages and how they work, and package names will change from distro to distro. When I say distro to distro, I mean like Debian to Arch. The package names will change a bit. Not much. Just do a apt, if you're on Debian, you're just going to do apt list and then just grep whatever the package name is or a part of the package, and then it'll list out all the packages and then just install the one you need. So it's not a big deal. Not a hard thing to do. Yep. Now, Crazy Chicken, I will say I've been using Pipewire for a little bit, and I really like the implementation of Pipewire over the old way of like ALSA and Pulse Audio. So this is getting better, however, is still very rough around the edges. However, I have been pleasantly surprised with Pipewire and how easy and seamless it has been for me to switch to Pipewire. And this I don't think will always be the case. It is definitely the case right now, but it's getting there, man. We're gonna see how it goes. GNU Linux, I got all my games to work. Yeah, so it depends on the games you're playing. Like I said, some games work great out of the box, and if that's your games and that's all the games you need, dude, that's awesome. But to categorically say that every game works and it's easy, well, that's just lying. That's just not true. It's fine, man. Part of being on YouTube is you get trolled. A lot of people, get all hurt over a comment or just someone having a bad day or blowing off steam. Hell, I've done the same thing. I know 3 or 4 years ago, I'd have a bad day at work and I'd get on YouTube and I'd see some 20-year-old pop up and try and be teaching something. I'm like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. I'm going to leave a nasty comment. We've all done it. So, don't worry about it, man. I don't take offense to the comments. It's all just part of the experience. Yeah, return YouTube dislike Chrome extension. I haven't seen this. I'm definitely for it. That's cool, though. If there is a Chrome extension for that, does it work? I think it's great. I can still see my like to dislike range. Like when I reacted to Linus's part 2, which was overly negative, I will definitely say. And I definitely jumped the shark. That's why I put it on my second channel. I will say I did look at the like to dislike, and it was like probably one of the worst received videos I've done. Up there when I said VLC was crap. I think a lot of people, got hurt about that too. I think that was my most disliked video, was when I said VLC was garbage. But yeah, this would probably be the second one. The part 2 of Linus's Linux challenge. I was not very kind in my response. Does it have an immutable file system? I'm not a kid. I don't need an immutable file system. And I don't think anybody that's going to use this is a kid either. I feel like people have brains, and immutable file systems is for the masses. So this isn't to say immutable file systems are bad. I think when it comes to the general population, you got to realize the general population is not tech savvy. They are going to do stupid things. They're going to follow some guy's guide online and break their system. But having an immutable file system basically prevents them from doing this. Not 100%. I mean, there's ways to go into like fstab or however Steam ends up implementing, because SteamOS is doing an immutable file system, which I do agree with, by the way. I think this was the right call from SteamOS. But it's really important to know when it comes to the immutable file system, it's something to where everyday users can just do it. And it's great. So when I heard it was going to be a mutable file system, I was like, hell yeah, that makes sense. But regular distros or people that have knowledge in Linux, we don't need an immutable file system. If I had SteamOS, which I do have one coming in, I would immediately change like fstab, or if they're doing like a systemd auto mount, depending on how they implement their system, I'm just going to change it to rewrite. They can't stop me because it's Linux after all, which is great. Martin, thanks so much for the super chat. At my company, mainly Microsoft stuff, Active Directory and so on, very familiar, we consider integrating some Linux PCs. Is that possible, you think, regarding everything is Microsoft? It's getting a lot more possible. A lot of people don't realize I am not a Linux admin. I've never been a Linux admin. I've developed systems and engineered like PBX boxes and other things regarding networking and telephony in Linux. But I'm not a Linux guy. That's always been kind of a, hey, Titus, we're running into this problem, or hey, I need a basic database. Can you build this out for us? I might toss it in Linux, right? It just is easy. Or I need a host like a little website. Toss it in Linux. It's easy. But it's always been a secondary skill. My primary skill has been Windows Server. If I pull up my resume, which I hadn't been updated in probably a decade, you'll see that I have like 11 different Windows Server certifications. My expertise lies in Windows and Windows-based systems. So just a fun fact about me is I have my MCITP Enterprise Administrator. I have all the way dating back to like Windows XP, and as far as certs go. Usually the certs were just like a means to an end, a way to get your foot in the door, but I digress. But good question. Yes, you can use Linux PCs and integrate some. Specifically, kiosks are great. I've used it for really line-level systems, and more things are being like done through web apps, which makes it very easy to use Linux systems where, 10 years ago, we had so many line of business apps that weren't on the web that you were just stuck on Windows. These days, I mean, we're really getting to a spot where we can just do whatever we want. Return to YouTube dislike is on GitHub. Works. Oh, awesome, man. That's awesome. Thanks for the super chat too, Adam. Yeah. I can't blame for using it. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is never underestimate the general population's stupidity. I mean, that's just, users will find a way. It's like that Jurassic Park, life finds a way. They find ways to break things that you're just like, how'd that happen? I mean, it's just one of those things. I think it's a very good call from Valve, to say the least. Is it true software engineers use Mac? Why not Linux? So it depends on the engineer. I've run into I would say more engineers use Mac than Linux. I think that's probably true, but that's kind of not the entirety of the statement. Usually you use Mac because it just works. It's very, very boring and stale, but it's reliable. It doesn't really change. When I jump on a Mac system, I could jump in it 10 years from now and not gain any knowledge and probably still be just okay. Be like, oh, okay, here's system preferences. You got your swapping around of like the Apple key, and you got like, Apple W to close Finder, or Apple Q to quit programs. A couple little extensions. Usually I do like Magnet to move my windows around and get some mobility out of the system. But yeah, in general, I would say more software engineers use Mac than Linux. The reason being is the consistency. The one thing Linux lacks is consistency, and that's not a bad thing. It's just how it is. It makes it very difficult to support it, very difficult to troubleshoot. So Mac makes a bit more intuitive sense because you know what to expect, and when you're doing your testing and those types of things, if you run into a problem, it's very consistent across all Macs, where Linux, some people might have the problem, other people might not. It might depend on their hardware, and that. Macs is very, very limited set on hardware. It's a very limited set on the actual OS and interface with like Darwin and how it all works. It makes sense, man. So it's not a knock against Linux. It's just when you need to get some stuff done and you need to work in it, that's why you might use Mac instead of Linux. Having said that, I hate Mac. I would obviously use Linux. So, no. Ugh. All right, well, you spam the channel too. I gotta hide you now. Oh, let's go. Move. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know you can just switch to private mode to see the dislikes. I am. Like I said, you don't learn anything unless you break something or you have failure. That's the important thing I want to teach people. You don't ever learn anything when everything just works. It's why I think a lot of people growing up and learning IT in the 90s are far better suited, mainly because everything broke in the 90s. Like coming up, I can't tell you how many problems we had with computers and just computer-based systems. And the newer generation, you guys are almost working at a disadvantage because everything's so darn easy and it's just like click one button, go. I mean, that you're working at a disadvantage because most things work and you don't really need to know much. Back in the 90s, like when I was coming up and learning, everything like required, a lot of work, and things broke all the time because people were just trying to figure it out. And that's just important. So like when I find something that works great and I don't know how it works great, I like to break it or try to break it. And that way I can fix it and figure out how it works. It's almost better than anything else. Yeah, so like that VLC video, the too long didn't watch of it, you don't have to go watch it, was just me saying VLC kind of works like crap in Linux. Use like MPV with like a celluloid or a SM player front end, and you're good. VLC's crap in Linux. That was pretty much the gist of that whole video. VLC works fine in Windows. If you're a Windows user, VLC, hit it up all day long, man. No worries there. You're good. I just, I like celluloid with MPV front end. It's so much better than VLC in Linux, for sure. I mean, I think it's pretty rudimentary. You should see some of the stuff I find. It makes me feel like a noob, David. So remember, there's always someone smarter, and some GitHubs out there, I like pull up their projects. I'm like, dude, this looks like a foreign language just because of how intricate some of it could be. Specifically, like I remember I was talking to a dev from the Ubuntu team and how he was doing his bash scripting, because I looked at his bash script and it like literally didn't make sense to me because of how complex it was. And I had him having to, like, he basically broke it down for me. He's a really nice guy. And shout out to Mike. But it was really cool to see because it taught me there's so much more I don't know. And just remember that, like, there's just like this I forget, was it the 4 stages of mastery? Like a person that thinks they know everything's like at stage 1, and then like the second stage is you kind of start to learn what you don't know, and that just blows your mind because you're like, oh wow, I really don't know anything, I know all this. And then after, I think you get to be like expert level after like 1,000 hours of working on it, and then after 10,000 you finally achieve a level of mastery to where you know most things. Nobody really knows it all, though. Yeah, you don't really need a front end. I just like a front end. So that's it. Yeah, I know, Charles. Anybody that's been through the 90s, man, the computing experience back then was rough. Very rough, to say the least. Does that turn on? Come on. There we go. There we go. Got to turn on my AC. It actually is getting hot here in Texas. It's like 70 degrees. Thoughts on Windows 11? Still very unfinished. Still rough around the edges, J2. I'm using it, but it's a bit rough. It's a bit rough. But it's getting there. I think in about 6 months to a year, we should be fine. Yeah, thanks, Brian. Appreciate it, man. Hey, man, like I said, Linux, the cool thing about it is there's just so much to learn. Like, it's a rabbit hole of all rabbit holes. It's a rabbit hole inside of a rabbit hole. It's the inception of operating system, because there's just so much to everything to learn. Like Windows, I can teach someone probably Windows inside and out with probably 6 months. I would say if I spent every day 8 hours with them for 6 months, I think I could pretty much teach them everything about that operating system. Mac, probably even less time. Mac probably would take me 30 days. There's not too much to Mac. It's a very simplistic operating system. That's the beauty of it too. But Linux, oh man, there's just so much, so many different systems, so many, just init systems could take months to just discuss and learn. Like System D itself is so massive. That's a course on itself, and that's just one of the init systems. And then you have bootloaders, you have different desktop environments, you have so much stuff. That's the beauty of it. There's always something to learn, man. Always something to learn. I like the idea of Yast from SUSE. It's a little bit janky, a bit like Yast, but it's neat. I can appreciate it because Yast is probably one of the most powerful control centers I've seen in Linux. So I do like it for what they're trying to do. Having said that, I don't really use SUSE, and I'm like, not really my thing. So no, Linus Torvalds is a kernel engineer. He's the one that created Linux, but he doesn't know everything about Linux because probably the best way to illustrate this is he tried to install Debian and gave up. I think that's a direct quote from him. That's not me making fun of him or anything like that. That's just Linus being Linus. There's so much to learn. There's so many different pieces to Linux. But as far as Linux kernels goes, I don't think there's a bigger expert out there than Linus Torvalds or Linus Torvalds, depending on how you want to say it. What is the first GNU Linux distro? I think chat could tell us. I think it was like Mandrake, or was it Slackware? I think Slackware is definitely up there. There's a bunch of them, but I haven't really been in the distro realm for very long. I've been morely just using like CentOS and RHEL-based systems for work. In the I would say early 2000s is really when I started doing that, mainly for networking. So this is a good one, gamer. So a lot of times I go back and forth, but I would say for a new user that wants understanding of mastery, it's trying to figure out all the pieces to Linux, right? Because Linux is always made up of like 5 or 6 different pieces. Usually you have the bootloader. The bootloader goes into the init system, which is usually system D these days. And then everything gets initialized, and then it boots into, it usually starts up the display render, which is usually Xorg or Wayland. And then it goes from the display render down into a display manager like SDDM, Light DM, GDM for GNOME users. So you have these, and this is kind of like your login screen. And then it goes ahead and boots into like a desktop environment and then starts up like with a window manager that has a whole bunch of fixins to it to configure your system. So that's like the breakdown, like the quick 60-second breakdown of everything in Linux. Where I really grasped this concept, like I'd say 2 years ago, I probably learned this, mainly because I when I use Linux, I've always liked the server aspect of Linux the most. But when I started grasping like the graphic elements and those types of things, it really started making sense. I guess it's been 3 years ago now when I installed Arch for the first time. You can actually see it live. I have like a live video of it. I came home from a Christmas party. I was drunk, so it was me being drunk installing Arch Linux for the first time. But it's even in that state, when I was going through it, I was like, wow, this kind of is neat. Like all the different pieces of things was so neat, because when I was installing Arch the hard way, not like with the GUI or the I think there's different ways to install Arch now, but just do it through the wiki, the hard way. It teaches you each one of these elements, and you install each one of these elements, and you start to learn about more of that. And I think that's really when I started learning more about desktop Linux mastery and how desktop Linux works. It's really interesting. Usually servers don't come with a lot of drivers, specifically drivers meant for Windows 10. So it's actually a different driver set that comes with Server 2016. It's easy to get around. You could use Snappy Driver Origin tool, and that will get you wherever you need to be. So, but yeah, you don't want Wi-Fi drivers. Typically the Wi-Fi modules, I think, disabled by default on Windows Server, mainly just so server's not really meant for desktop usage, so it makes sense that wouldn't be there. Yeah, no, you're not going to get stability on either one of those. I mean, no, if you like, you would use those for different aspects. Like Ubuntu, you might use just to kind of try out. One, I would never recommend a non-LTS Ubuntu release in server or elsewhere. It's just not a good idea. For Manjaro, using like an LTS Linux kernel, it still rolls. I mean, it's still very much a rolling, and a lot of the packages that get installed are still pretty bleeding edge. So you're not going to really get stability per se. You can make sure it doesn't break, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's really stable, because a lot of those packages are changing a lot. So what might be stable today might be a little less stable tomorrow. So I wouldn't say you would use either one for stability. However, having said that, I would definitely choose Manjaro LTS over those two options. Non-LTS Ubuntu releases have always been kind of atrocious. Specifically in this past year, I should have done a video but I've called Ubuntu the devil in the past, so I was like, it's kind of like beating a dead horse. You know, it's dead, Jim. Stop killing it. So I was like, nobody cares what I say about Ubuntu, especially non-LTS releases. Having said that, LTS release of Ubuntu server is actually not too bad. I do use it on occasion. Where is the Roxy? So I did do, Justin, I think I have it on my GitHub. I also have a build on how to do it through like desktop. I don't really use Rocky Linux because some people find like Debian packages old. Well, Rocky Linux is using CentOS packages or RHEL-based packages, actually, to be more accurate. And those are like 2 years old, 3 years old. I mean, there's probably some packages in there like 4 or 5 years old. So it's not exactly the best experience for those that want like a newer setup. But you could build a lot of packages for Rocky Linux. And, you know, I mean, it kind of interests me. It kind of piqued my interest because I do love Rocky Linux. I almost want to just start making my own packages and do like a bleeding edge Rocky Linux. That kind of defeats the purpose, but it'd be fun nonetheless. All right, let's get into it, Daniel. Let's do this. FAD, thank you so much for joining the members too. All right, let's get on the desktop, start looking. So first off, let's start this README file off. We're gonna need to change a couple things here. Let's see. Oh man, I chatted for 45 minutes. You just need to tell me to shut up sometimes, guys. All right, this is our current packages, and here is the README. So requirements, this is gonna be base stuff. We probably should add Debian SID, and this is gonna be probably do etc apt sources list, and this is going to just be like a list of this file. We'll probably do example. And what else we use in here? Probably. Where's that? Still learning this keyboard a little bit. I'm getting better though. Each day it's a little bit better. All right, we're on this. We'll do retrieve at apt sources dot list. Let's grab that in, clean that up a little bit. So that's our sources dot list. That's what you're going to need to make a Debian SID. So you'd change that and do like an apt update. For this, I remember running this on my laptop when I was installing this, and it didn't work very well. I think a lot of this I actually messed up. So this Nordic theme, we're probably going to have to change up a little bit, as I don't think that's going to work. So let's just, probably get rid of that. We'll add that Nordic theme back in. Let's do a placeholder. Also, we do need to add more of this. So we need fire code and Meslo, I think NGL nerd font as well. So we're gonna wget that. Let's grab that real quick. And this just kind of helps people build this setup that I have going on. So we're just going to try and grab like the base of it. And then we're going to try and make it more user friendly, because some people are probably looking at this going, this is too much. What the hell, Titus? I'll be like, all right, yeah, you're right. So we're going to just wget that and unzip meslo.zip to directory. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. Directory fonts. Keep forgetting. Nope. Yeah, there it is. Tidally, I need to do a better hotkey on my keyboard here. So that's gonna grab those Meslo fonts. We can get rid of that. Meslo font. For those variants, this grabs this, And we do need to get that Nordic font as well. Have you done anything with HyperV? Yeah, I mean, HyperV's like the poor man's. So what happened in like the 2010s is like businesses we were repurposing a ton of Windows servers. So VMware is what everyone uses for bare metal hypervisors. And HyperV was used because we had a whole bunch of leftover Windows servers license, because Windows Server used to be used a lot more than it is today. So what ended up inevitably happening was we were like, ah, crap, we can't afford, a couple $100,000 or a couple, probably $10,000-$20,000 worth of VMware licensing. And it's usually perpetual too. So like it keeps going. And, we were like, screw it, we got all these Windows Server licenses, let's just do HyperV. So I think HyperV saw like a resurgence in like the low to mid 2010s, and then it kind of fell off. I haven't used it in a long while. I think the only feature in HyperV that I liked better than VMware was, I think it had like dynamic memory, which I don't even think is really a thing anymore, or nobody really cares about it like it was back then. I thought that was kind of cool. But the whole gist of it, you'd rather have VMware compared to the two. And then like a distant third place is obviously Zen Server or XCP-ng, which I do like. I do like those. I'm personally a fanboy of like Zen Server and XCP-ng. For the guy that asked, if he's still here. Let's see, what else we got? Oh yeah. Need to grab the Rofi theme as well. That's important. I think I already have it in here as well, but I do need to have it installed part of this script. And we need to redo the script, obviously. As this base stuff, theme stuff should be user level. User level. Base stuff up here is going to be root level. So you should do this as probably as super user, just like sudo. Root and user level. Let's do a Nordic theme install. We need to take a look at that Nordic theme, also getting that going as well. And I want to say the Nordic theme has a GitHub we can look at. Does I wonder, I think actually, if I'm right here, let's do a list. Is Nordic in? Nah. I was like, that'd be cool. Yeah, I just wanted to see if it was in one of the SID repositories. It ain't. Let's see. I do love my Nordic. I know some people find it kind of like, meh. So, I think we can just toss this. I'll come back over to here. We'll git clone that, cd into Nordic. And what else do we have? You know what? I think we might just, instead of getting it here, we should just change it to this. And if we look, just so we have less lines. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just change our directory to cd themes, and then we're just gonna git clone Nordic. Because that's just gonna toss it into the user themes. This won't be for a global level though. That's the only thing about doing it as user, which is fine. If you wanted to do it at system wide, we could do it over here. But I'm like, meh, it's fine. And SDDM, is that installed as well? Let's just check for yeah, SDDM's installed up there. And I think that's about it, guys. What else do we have out of this theme that we need to grab? We have most of the font packages. Obviously, the nerd fonts we're going to grab and install right here. The cursor fonts, I think I'm using LAN cursor fonts, which some people might not like. I think the LAN ones actually, what am I using? Let's just take a look at our LX appearance. And we're using Nordic Darker. And I think there's a branch for Nordic Darker because regular Nordic's a little bit higher contrast. I mean, it's kind of picky, yes. It's kind of the same. Papyrus for the icon theme. This one's using, it's also Capitine light cursors that we could use. I do like the Volante's light cursors. Which is better, KVM or VMware? Oh man, that's a good one too. I would say out of those two, they're two. It's apples to oranges for one, because VMware is meant for like a base layer hypervisor, meaning there's no operating system and then VMware, right? VMware is pretty much it, or it runs on ESXi. Where KVM needs Linux, basically. I don't think I've ever seen KVM outside of Linux. So I'm going to just say KVM. You have Linux as the base layer, then you have KVM slapped on top of it. I think there was a lawsuit from VMware, and I think they did lose it because they did, when I think they constructed ESXi, I think they did borrow a lot from Linux. I could be wrong there. Don't quote me. But two separate things. But I do love KVM, which we will be using to try and reinstall this. So I think this is pretty good. Let's save that out. Do we have KVM? Let's just install KVM Debian. What do we got for guides? Oh, here we go. Let's go back. I think I used this before. Check whether virtualization's enabled. It should be 2 for that. 12, yep, got 12 units, I think we're good. So we're just gonna grab this guy right here. Do I have all this installed already? Yeah, I already have KVM going. KVM, or Virt Manager. Yeah. Never mind. I've already done this before. I was going to install KVM, but apparently I've already done it. So we're going to do a base install using Debian here. Let's see. What do we have? Images. Let's name this images. Finish this out. All right, out of the images directory, we should have all of these. We're going to be using a Debian non-free, probably a net INS. So this is the one I like to use. I always recommend doing non-free. It has like NVIDIA drivers, a whole bunch of stuff. Debian non-free is fantastic. So we'll have that. Let's go forward. Let's go grab 6 CPUs, and we're going to use 16. What is that? 16128? I forget. That's not it. That doesn't look right. I can't remember what the 16 gigs is. Whatever, it doesn't matter. And we'll use, you know what? We're going to use 20 gigs. 30 gigs. I don't want to give this much room to breathe because I don't think we're really going to need it. All right, so here's our graphic installer. I like to just do base install for this as well. So we're going to just install this, grab this. So this is going to be what a fresh install will look like. You'll grab your Debian ISO, you'll load up your USB, load it into a machine like this, and then we're going to clone the project and see what we can build out. We'll start obviously from server, where it's just, this is going to be just our Debian test host name, and root password. Actually, you want to actually leave this blank for Debian. This automatically enables sudo. So when you type in, let's say Titus for the username, and you type in your password, oops. Sometimes I get out of place on my here. All right. So you blank out the root password. That makes the root count disabled, which is actually good. You want to do that for security. And then your username, anytime you need to run as root, you need to do like sudo and then do that. So we use the entire disk here, all files in the same partition. Nothing fancy out of this. So we're just going to start that and install this on the system. One other thing, if you're ever going to use like KVM, like some people don't like QEMU or KVM, and they're like VirtualBox or VMware Workspace. You know, there's a lot of different ones out there, but they're all crap. You want to use KVM, and I'm about to show you why. Because not only is this going to be a lot faster, but we're going to even speed it up a lot more than this. This is the slow version right now because we haven't done any guest tools or anything like that, which we will do. And I'll show you how do we add guest tools to where you have a very performant virtual machine. It's always cringy, like when you watch YouTube videos and someone uses, if I could read chat, 16384. That's it. You guys got it. Yeah, I am daily driving this now to where I just love this. I love this setup. It's exactly what I need, exactly what I want. All right. Do we want scanning installation finds the label? No. And we're just going to select this. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to probably change it from Debian to LeaseWeb. I'm in Dallas-Fort Worth, and LeaseWeb actually has a local DFW server. So I usually can get a little bit faster performance going with LeaseWeb. So if you're in the central United States or southern central, I guess this would be southern. Yeah. Texans everywhere is yelling at the screen. Central? We're southern. What the hell, Titus? But anyways, yeah, LeaseWeb has good servers for anybody around Dallas-Fort Worth. Also, I think LA and New York, they have some servers out there as well. Password SolarWinds123. Oh, I love it. Love it, man. All right, so from here, we're actually disabling all desktop environments. I think we'll just leave standard system utilities. So everything unchecked except system utilities. So we're just going to grab the base system. This is how you would set up a server if you ever wanted to know how people set up servers. Well, we never even use a GUI. I think some sysadmins will use a GUI, but it's kind of pointless. You add a bunch of bloat and just more things to go wrong. The idea behind computing just in general, or at least what I think, is you simply just want to install what you use. Everything else is just extra stuff to go wrong. Shout out to the DF Dub. All right, we got some local people here. All right. I love your southern accent impersonation. I'm actually a country boy from Kansas. So I actually grew up in a small town in Kansas. Well, kinda. So I kind of moved around a little bit. So I think I've had someone like say, you got like a North Carolinian accent. I'm like, nah, it's like a blend of southern meets Midwest. Because Midwest is kind of, I've spent most of my life in Midwest. Or early life, I should say. All right. Install this. This is just the bootloader install. And now it just grabs our base packages. Yeah, Texas is in Central Time Zone. Sam, thanks for the super chat. Chris, how easy would DebTitus be to apply to Proxmox, Debian based? Fairly easy. The Proxmox uses exactly what I'm using right here. So I guess we're going to find out. But yeah, it should be pretty pretty straightforward. I don't think we'll run into too many problems here. The beauty of Linux is, yeah, we're already up and going, guys. So first thing you do after you do a fresh install, first person to say it in chat gets 100 points. After a fresh install, you always, it doesn't matter what system it is, Mac, Windows, Linux. We always do this on a fresh install. Everyone always does it, or should do it. You update. Always run your updates as soon as you do a fresh install. Obviously, we're all up to date. I was using a net install. But you update. You never do anything else. If there's one thing that's super cringe, if I'm ever watching somebody, it's if they install a system and they don't immediately go to updates. You're always in for a recipe of disaster. Update. That's true with Windows too. Not just Linux, but Windows, Mac, all of them. Update your systems on a new install, please. Oh, man. I think this one we're just going to do QEM guest tools, I think is the package name. But first we're going to do a shutdown, or let's just do a power off. Maybe it's system CTL power off. Oh. Yeah, maybe we got to run it as sudo. All right, so we're just powering this off. We want to get acceleration going now. Now, usually, right here, you just make sure this is there. You need the QEMU guest agent. So we have the guest agent. I just like to double check that, run it, and typically, I think in here it does show. Usually you'll start to see memory usage, disk I/O. All this will actually come to life when you do have guest agents. So let's take a look here. Let's do our install, apt, list, grep, guest tools. What do we got for guest tools? What was it, guest? Okay, yeah, the guest agent is actually already going, so we're actually in the clear. If we look at our info, it still doesn't show memory usage, which is odd. Oh well. At least we're accelerated. View, let's go ahead, go full screen with this guy. And first thing I like to do for just chat in general is do a dpackage reconfigure console setup. What is apt install terminus font? Huh. Grep terminus. All right, let's go font / terminus. Or is it just terminus? I think it's just terminus, actually. I think that comes with the font / terminus, but probably wise. I like to just kind of change my console font. Yeah, guest agent needs to be started. Let's take a look at that. It may not have. That's a good point. System CTL status, QEMU guest agent service. Yeah, so Debian has gotten so darn good this past year or two. I just have nothing but great things to say about the Debian developers. They have done such a great job. Like, I remember I used to have to enable the service, install it, add things, but literally this install of Debian, we're done. Like, it's all up to date. Here, let's just do I did want to do that reconfigure of console real fast. Maybe sudo dpackage reconfigure console setup. Yeah, that's what it is. All right, so we're just gonna come terminus bold 24. Yeah. Can you all see that now? All right, now we're gonna just do a neofetch because I'm just a big Linux lush and I just love neofetch. No, I mean, this took us like 5 minutes to do a restore point. I mean, we could, but... All right, neofetch. So here's what we're rocking. This is Bullseye version of Debian. So the first thing we're gonna do, if we look at this, which, let's get out of this, come back over to our resources. So this we'd run as root and install all of this. But if we do, I think I did a, no, I didn't do a commit to that, did I? Well, shucks. Let's see. Let's go ahead, commit this, update. Oh, yeah. People aren't going to want that modification, but yeah, this is, like I said, still a work in progress. Let's just refresh that. So now our thing should show a little bit more. And what we're going to do is just grab this section, come back to here. You know what? We could probably just close this stuff. Oh, no. Ah, darn it. Got a little quit happy there. Virtual Machine Manager. Let's open that up. All right. We're going to take this and push this to... What do we got? All right, we'll put that in here. And we'll probably adjust our resolution as well soon. But before we do that, we'll do a git clone. Yeah, we're going to grab this Debian Titus. Helps if you install git, doesn't it? Better FS with snapshots. On this one, I think we'll probably address the file system towards the end here. I'll probably give everybody the option on that. I think there's so many there, and we're going to probably be using a lot of the base Debian stuff. But let's just clone this guy. All right. If we cat packages, this is all the packages I have installed right now. I think this was a dump of everything that I have, which... Funnily in... Oh, no. Okay. That's not what's installed. It's like, really? Do I already... Why did I get YouTube DL? That's just what I had on this system. I think I'm going to redo this. Which, let's see here. Let's come up and grab our next one, which we need to run as root. I don't really think we need to run it as root, actually. We can probably just dump that into here. Oh, no. Let's just cat. I think we can actually just do a head 5. Ah, close. 15? Yeah, all right, cool. And I wanted to grab that Debian SID sources.list example. You know what I should have done if I was really thinking? Grabbing the sources.list and tossing it into this project. That's what would have been smart. Let's fix that. Let's just copy this. And we're going to grab our sources.list and toss that into and commit push. All right, now back in here, we're just going to do a git pull. All right. Another thing I gotta fix before we get too in the weeds here is let's just do a vim of bash rc. Oh man, I didn't install vim. Let's grab vim. One thing I like to do on my bash RCs is just come down into change up our colors. Specifically, I always miss this alias. I know this is such a small thing, but you're just going to see me punching away without my listings. I have to have it. All right. So now we have that. And the root sh is probably one thing we need to change as well. But let's just right now copy sources.list to sources.list. And then we're just going to do an update. This will grab, we're going to change our Debian branch. So my sources.list is just 2 lines long. It's just grabbing SID and updating all the packages to a little bit more bleeding edge. We'll update these packages followed by like a dist upgrade and we should be fine. But let me catch up with chat. No, I actually haven't missed much from chat. Yeah, so there's a lot of different YouTubers I think that have made like just script files. I think what DT did DTOS, which is just Arch with a script, isn't it? You have to install Arch and then use the script. Probably the one that should get a lot more praise that doesn't, that I think has done the best job as far as YouTubers go, is EasyNix. There's Easy Launcher and a whole bunch of other things. He has got some really cool tools. So if you're into Arch, look up EasyNix. I think it's Easy Launcher. Someone from chat probably knows. And that's pretty cool. The whole purpose of this project is basically taking my background as like a server admin and then just building out a very minimal OS on top of it. So you can do everything you want without having practically any overhead. So right now I have QEMU, a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, we could play some games while we wait. We got all my Git stuff that I'm doing. Yep, there's that. Vert Manager, Discord. Usually I have GIMP up, doing Synergy so I can go between all my systems here. Because I got my Mac over here, I got my Windows down here, and chat over here. And then like my phone system. So that's like my system right now. But this is what we're installing, is what we have here, which is pretty darn basic. You got your basic start menu, you got your basic shutdown menu, and that's all you really need. You know, you don't need a huge desktop environment. You don't need a whole bunch of garbage on top. And that's the whole purpose of this, to make a very minimal OS. All right, we got that. And we're going to just do a dist upgrade, I think it is. I don't think there's really going to be anything there. Auto remove, get rid of those old packages. And just make sure that looks clean as could be. Like to do a apt update and upgrade afterwards. And then we're just going to do a reboot. And we'll fix that bootloader screen, shall we? Gotta have a cool bootloader, right? That's like mandatory. Probably do a build directory so we don't have the polluting up our home folder. And I'm just gonna grab my top 5 boot. Man, I really wish I did not name it that long of a repository, but you know. Is so much. That's right, somebody did a pull request. Oh, somebody did a pull request with that in there. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, I'm going to let chat decide what theme this should be from the Chris Titus or Chris Tech Tips theme launcher. Someone punked me, man. Oh, God bless you, sir. That's hilarious. Let's do what bootloader should I use? And we're going to go put Vimix. Ah. What we got? Cyber RE. Yeah, I love Cyber RE. It's great. Shodan, and then we're gonna do Fallout. Here we go. You guys go ahead and vote in that. And whatever the winning vote is, we'll do it on that guy. Ooh, a lot of Cyber RE coming in. I do love, that's my favorite too, though. Shodan gets no love. Maybe if they did a reboot. They're talking about doing a reboot from the old System Shock, which is from Shodan. So if you were a gamer in the 90s, Shodan and System Shock, fun game, man. I really hope they refresh that. I'm surprised they haven't done a refresh of that IP. It's kind of shocking, really. Oh yeah. So Cyberpunk, I have it in there. I guess we could do it, but I only could do 4 options in the YouTube poll. So Cyber RE and Cyberpunk are so similar that it's like, eh. All right, we got almost 200 votes here. We'll go ahead and commit it. Looks like Cyber RE is going to be the runaway winner here, though. All right, let's end it. Get the final votes in, and the winner is Cyber RE with 42% of the vote. That's a pretty runaway victory. Love it. All right. Let's do it. Cyber RE is booted. Let's give that a little bit of a look through, shall we? How good is that script? Pretty solid, guys. Look at that. Beautimous. Well, that is our new bootloader. A little prettier than the old one, right? And all right. Update, we should have 0 packages, everything's up to date, and now we are ready to install some stuff. So let's go into what's this look like? All right, we need to change all that up. That is ugly looking, right? So we're gonna come into here and let's just go into GitHub, Debian Titus. Let's fix that root.sh. All right, so get rid of that. Well, I'm torn. I think we could, yeah, let's just. I'm going to take a look at how this is done. So I think this is wrong. And what we'll do is delete that, delete that. This is meant to have been run as sudo. I think we can do that. And, ooh, I can't. I don't think I can cat that into... Yeah, I think we'll just run this as root user. It'll be fine. But... Alright, we'll commit those changes. And then we're going to switch to root user and push those out. So let's do a git pull. And we're just going to switch to root user and then just do that root. Right? Oh man, those files aren't executable. One change. Again, I'm just testing this script out. Any changes or breaks, I'm going to make executable star.sh. So now we have those executable. Let's push that origin. And now let's do a git pull. Let's exit git pull. All right, so now we have root, and we'll install all these packages. Layton, just want to say hi. Hello. Yeah, so yeah, YouTube's getting better with their live streams. I'm determined to crack the code on YouTube live streaming. How is your machine so fast? It's actually a pretty low-end machine. I mean, I wouldn't say low-end. Mid-grade machine. It's this is just a VM using about half of my 5600X. So this is actually a $300 processor. So not the worst thing, but there's a lot faster things than my 5600X. I should go with a full Threadripper system. I think I might, I don't know. It depends. If I get like a bunch of views for December or something, if I have a blow up video, I might take it and buy the new Threadripper refresh whenever that happens. But yeah, I'm just going to keep using my 5600X. It's nice. Could be faster. But it would be cool to have like a Threadripper with like 64 cores and just toss like 32 cores at this. Oh man, we would tear through this. Oh, it'd be fun. All right, so the base system is now installed. We can clear this out, come back. And now let's take a look at the user sh. This right here is what it's going to install. Most of this is just theming though. So, I'm tempted. Yeah, let's just go ahead and do it. Let's just do user. So this one, we're not going to do sudo, I don't think. And this should go through and install everything, download all of our font packs, theme packs, all that good jazz. So now this is actually going to the website, downloading the Fire Code nerd fonts. And this should extract those directly into our fonts folder, which is good. And it did that. It looks like it missed one of them though. Yeah. All right. Script was pretty successful, but if we look at our README file, I think it was user. Let's just paste those in. Meslo fonts. Yeah. So that should fix the user file. Let's do a git pull. Should see those. Oops. Forgot to do the commit, didn't I? Noob. All right. Now we'll pull that. And we'll rerun that user file. See how that does. So it should do the fire code, and then it should do Meslo. Once Meslo is done, then it does all the unzip, and it should be fine. Yeah. It's like, hey, it's already all here, so it was fine. There we go. Yes. Exactly what we need. And I think we're ready. I think we're ready for our first reboot. SDDM is going to look a little bit gnarly, but I think we will have a functional desktop as long as we look at our... we'll go... Is there a .config? There's a .config. All right, let's go cd.config. What's in here? Just neofetch. Okay, cool. So it's already there. Let's come into Debian Titus. Let's come into .files. This is everything in .files. So what I want to do is grab everything from here and dump them over there. Did we already get PyCom, by the way? Just to make sure. Installed. I didn't install PyCom. All right, we're missing PyCom from our packages as well. Let's come back over here. Vim root. So PyCom is the compositor. Oops. It makes like cool transparent effects for our windows. That should be there. Anything else? Polybar there. Let's do another. I'm just doing some sanity checks here just to make sure I got all the packages for this. Polybar is installed. I think this should be good. Let's give it a reboot and see what we have. As far as package, how bloated we made it, we're at 760 packages right now with this system. That's very, very light for a Debian system. But we should have a full desktop that emulates kind of what you see on my main desktop here. But let's see. Yeah. Oh, oops, my bad. Zero, what's up? I will, Zero. So what I did was I forgot to put a config file into BSPWM. Oh man, sad face. So we need to send a key. Let's go TTY. And what we'll do here. All right, cool. One more thing we need to do is when we're building this out from here, if we go into .files, we want to grab everything from here. So honestly, we could just do a move. Well, let's just move .files star to probably do like .config. So if we look at .config, we now have all of that in. All right, one more time. Let's see how we did. Oh yeah, we need to grab Vim, the Vim comp file too, to make that look good. All right, so we have BSPWM now. How we looking? I mean, we got something on the screen. I mean, that's not much though. Okay. Well, it's something. All right. Polybar did launch, so we have the desktops. It's just not displaying any. Oh, big dummy. The Nordic theme. We completely forgot about doing the Nordic theme. Did I download the Nordic theme? Oh, that's right. I think if we look at the README file. Wow, yeah. Yeah. This right here is what we need. My bad. always something, man. It's always something. So we need to add that. I'm going to actually remove all this crap from the README because I'm adding things to README and then forgetting to do the user script, which is not good. So let's simplify this a little bit, and we'll say run as root, and then we'll just have them run the root, and then we'll say run as user, and then you'd actually log in and run that. So let's just do this. All right, there's our Nordic theme. And if we look at this, LX appearance, we see Nordic, Papyrus, let's go there, apply that. Nordic icons, mouse cursors, we obviously want that. That looks pretty solid. Fonts. All right, so Nordic is in, but, oh, all right. Do I have anything in? I'm missing, if we look at our main system here, I think it's the Nord X authority as well, or Nord X resources. So let's fix this up, shall we? Let's change our README first. We got our base root, Debian SID, run as root, which we're just going to get rid of. And in lieu, we will do I'm doing this a little backwards, but and then you do the root.sh theme stuff. Let's toss this in the user. Oh no, I didn't grab it. My bad. Oh. Oh, okay. You know what? We don't even need it because as the root, we put that. Okay. I'm just silly. Should be fine. And then we probably would want to do like an LX appearance right here. Probably just do like an echo. I'm going to clean this up and make it look better than this, but just so I don't forget. Appearance. I probably spelled that wrong. Failed English class, guys. All right. We got that. We got PyCom in there. And we cleaned up that README file, right? Let's just do what? 16dd. And then get rid of that. And we're gonna run this as user sh. That checks all the boxes, but now we need to fix. If we go to this main system, you'll notice I have X resources and X Nord. So let's copy X Nord to, was it Debian? Oh, yeah. Debian Titus. And then X resources to Debian Titus. That should give 2 more files over here. Update to README. Commit that. Push. And now we have those in place. from here. Let's pull. And now we'll copy X resources to our home folder. And we'll copy Nord to our home folder as well. And now we should have X resources, X Nord. I think that should do the theming. So now we should have a top bar. Pretty cool. What's our theme? The next thing, fixing this virtual screen. I bet we could do like an A-render. Let's do a little bit of a fix of our resolution so we're not working on this itty bitty screen. And can I change that resolution? What are you guys feeling? I'm thinking like a little bit blown up. What does that look like? That's better. Save that out. We'll just save it as def. I don't think that's going to apply on startup, but that's okay. All right, now we've gotten some of the theming done. We're going to give it one more kick, and we'll fix our SDDM theme, which looks ugly as sin, but we should have a top bar. Ha! Icons are all jacked, though. Let's take a look at our lists. FC list is what I use to look at our fonts. We should see like Noto fonts for some emojis. Awesome fonts should be in here. There's some awesome fonts. We should see this for nerd font. We should see Meslo nerd font in here as well, if we did it all right. Just seeing where we messed up on the fonts. And these are all user share. We should see those in the actual home folder though. So if we look, we do have a fonts folder. Oh no. Okay, so when we were building, it did not unzip to here. But it downloaded them. Huh. I think it was just unzip dash Firecode do D. And then I think you just do this syntax to unzip to fonts, right? Oops. Problem solved, y'all. Yeah. Okay. Let's get those fonts working. And we're just going to flush that. One more reboot. And then we'll... How do we want to do the resolution? We'll do it probably the way you should do it. Oops. All right. There we go. So now we have everything in. Obviously. Ooh. We got our workspaces working now. We got our home menu working. How does that look from a... Yeah, it's fine. So we've already replicated most of it. Yeah, so yeah, right now, just to keep everybody up to date here, I probably got a little bit lost there for some. Basically, I'm just replicating my current environment in here, and then as I'm replicating it, I'm figuring out all the different steps I'm taking, and then coming back in afterwards to here and going, okay, we know now that we need xnord x resources. So we'll come into our user folder. We go into GitHub, Debian, and then we know to fix the LX appearance. That's one thing, but we down know to grab our resources and copy xnord to here as well. And then also, before we run the command for user, we need to make sure we install unzip. That was needed, and that was not a tool, so we added that. So we've squashed a couple bugs here when making this. Yep, got it done. So that'll install unzip, and that's done before we do our fonts, and then it should have all of that. So now we probably need to talk about the interface itself and how we want to address resolution, as there's a ton of different programs to do this. I personally use a Randar, which works pretty good. So when we just do open, we could just run that on startup. So when you do that, set that up and then put that in, like, I would say the profile. So if we do a vim of profile, at the end of this, we could just do run, maybe like just execute /screen layout, and then def.sh. So if we go screen layout, def.sh, and that would work. So that should set it as soon as the profile gets and let's see what happens. Oh. No, don't do that. That was bad. That was no good. Oh no. Oh, did I just break it? I broke it. Oh no. Oh, that's a good one, guys. This is a fun way of how you could break a system. This is a great one. So what I've done here is I've changed the profile script, which gets run in login, but it's trying to execute a resolution switch. It crashes and sends it back to login screen. So I can't log in as the user. But no, it's not broken. We can fix it. But it's broken, but we'll fix it. But I can't use root. Want to know why I can't use root? Because I locked the root account. It's a security flaw to be able to log in as root, and then I skipped that on install because you really shouldn't ever log in as root. And so how do you fix this, right? Yeah. So the way to fix this, there's a couple different ways. We could do single user on boot. It usually will go ahead and exclude profile. We could do the quick and dirty way, which is do like an init bin bash and then just toss it into a shell. There's a lot of different ways, but needless to say, this right here, from its login, the desktop itself, there's no way to fix it from here. So that's a great one. That is a great one. So we could do single user. Let's try single user first. So what we'll do is just come down into missed it. This font's so big. and just type single. Oops. One more time. And come back over to here, single. And then we'll just do that. See if it will pop into... Okay, yeah. Single user. Nope. That did not, it did not like that. So let's try a different way. So instead of single user, we could do like a rewrite. Oh, so used to Vim. I hate Emacs. Let's go in bash. And we're going to just toss it into here. Well, that's... Okay, I must be doing something. That should not have booted into that. I'm not pressing escape. I'm just doing F10 to boot usually. Yeah. Press Control X or F10 to boot. Control C or F2 for command line. Well, let's try F2. Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah, single user should work though. Like this should give us something that's not a display manager. Okay, you are in rescue mode. Great. Cannot open access to console. The root account is locked. All right, we can do the init way. I think it was init. That was good though. This is why we secure down the system so someone can't just do single user mode. Kind of sucks when you're recovering your system though. Not gonna lie. All right, so usually if you're gonna do this way, I think you can just do init equals then bash. I think that works. Oh, those are, yeah, I think it's that. So that should bring us into a bash prompt. Yes. That was ridiculous. All right, let's fix this. Oh, Titus. Funny though, right? You learn something new every time. There's never a dull moment here. Well, I shouldn't say that. There are dull moments, but... All right, so this should exit, and let's just force reset. Give it a kick, and then it should be fixed. That was funny though. Oh, goodness. All right, we're back. Oh. Well, yeah, so I meant to disable root, and I think you should. I still recommend people disabling root. How many people have the Linux IQ to hack in using root? I mean... You could still do an edit to bash to get in, but I still think you should disable the root account. I think it's a security vulnerability. I know it's a security vulnerability, and I just think it's best to run everything through sudo, which I think is a good idea. Yeah, so you can't log in through TTY when the profile is broken. So my user profile I broke by changing profile, which is not ideal. So the proper way to do this would have been coming into SDDN. And if we look, I think it is it X session? You usually do this in light DM, but for SDDM, yeah, because we're not using Wayland, we're using Xorg. would probably be to initiate your login script or your login right here. Or, even better, let's take a look at our script again at screen layout. And probably the best thing to do, see, it's a very simple xrandar command. The best thing to do would just be to change it from bspwm. So obviously bspwm gets launched. So we should go into our .config, bspwm, and grab the RC file. This is where you would put like monitor config, and this you might do like a like execute home Titus, or you could better yet do like home screen layout def.sh. So then this would only break this guy. So that's pretty good. One other thing we'll do, let's just do an auto login so we just skip the SDDM altogether. I guess we could have done like an execute. We don't necessarily need SDDM. Nah, we'll leave it. We'll leave it. But for now, let's see what this does as far as our startup goes. Or maybe it'll just break it again. All right, that fixes the screen layout. Oh, but that's the stock setting. Oh, man. That's unfortunate. So I think what happened when we did it like that with an execute command, it wouldn't actually do that. No, so like when you, I'll show you what's happening if you ever run into this problem. When we're looking down here and setting up the monitor, when it executes this sh command, it just kills everything from here. So this layout, when it's building it, it's running this script and it's like, death. So this would not be the way to do it. But what we can do as well, we don't really need to run that as an sh script. This is bash script, bspwm is based in bash. So instead of running a script in a script, why not just grab the whole thing? So we'll just do a retrieve. We'll just cat that / screen layout and put it in here. So this grabs this command, tosses it in here, and we'll just delete those two lines. Toss that in, save it out, and we can just do a reload as well. But if we want to change some of the commands, what's the reload? Super escape reloads this. What is the reload for BSP? Super alt Q or R. All right, cool. So then we just super R. Super, what was it? Super control R? No. Come on. All right, whatever. We'll just reboot. It's not like the reboot takes very long. There's nothing in the system. That's the beauty of it. Come on, give me something pretty. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So now we've done this. PyCom. What do we got? There is a syntax error. Failed to create new session. Line 210. Okay. Let's look at our PyCom. I was like, that doesn't look like I have any transparency on my windows. We should see a little bit more transparency. Coming down to 210. Desync not method. Oh, all right. All right, there we go. That works. So that's what PyCom should look like. And if we reload, all right, what is happening with my reload? Nope. Control shift. Ah, there. Nope. Let's take a look at my commands again. Super Alt U or R. Oh, okay. Super and Alt R. Okay. I thought I did that. Oh, no. All right. I think. Maybe we just remap that button. I could. Yeah, I really wish YouTube didn't remove the dislikes. But again, I can see it on the back end. So when somebody dislikes a thing, it's not really that bad. I can at least see when people don't like a video I've done, which is nice. So I'm happy at least I can see it on the back end, which is good. Yeah, I think my hotkeys are running into each other here. So let's take a look here. Quit or restart. Quit or WR, BSPC, WR. We could probably rebind this to super shift. Let's see what else we got. Super shift P, that. Do we have any other super shift? This is just the hotkeys file. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of come back up into here, and we're gonna just change this guy. You just shift, and then just reload it. Yes, perfection. But it still didn't do PyCom. Oh, there he goes. Oh, it's running at the end of the script. Okay. So now we have transparency. So that's working as intended. Let's come back into here, kind of issue some of these in the user file. And these fixes that we've done. This is there, and now we would just do a copy of that. Copy -r dot files star, and then we put this into here under .config, something like that. Should work, right? Yeah. I was like, I think that syntax is right. We're good. Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to know on the dislikes, and I'm totally okay with that too. Because honestly, it was just the worst thing I say to people is the worst thing you could happen from a creator standpoint for me is do you just click off the video and not dislike or like it. I didn't care if people disliked it. I cared if people didn't like or dislike it. That's worse. So the only thing I can think of that makes sense to me of why they removed dislikes is from a business perspective. If you're doing YouTube, you have all these commercial interests in it and all these companies vying for it, because what YouTube is, after all, is just a huge marketing platform. Let's not kid ourselves. I definitely don't use it as that, but to my own disadvantage. Obviously, I could make a lot more money if I was a little bit more market savvy. But YouTube itself, I think by removing the dislikes count, now marketers can market crap, even things that does not have public favor, and they don't have to worry about it looking bad from a marketing perspective from that company. So I think it's at the end of the day, it's just about money. And from my perspective, as long as I can see the dislike counts, that's what I care about. I wish you guys could see it or give us the option to enable that, because I wouldn't care if people saw if they liked a video more or not. Most of my videos range between 97 and 98% like to dislike ratio, but there are some stinkers, like when I had that negative reaction to Linus Tech Tips Part 2. That one, I can tell you right now, you can't see the like to dislike, but it's about 80. Which is really bad for me. 80 is one of the worst videos I've ever done. I would say definitely top 5 worst videos as far as ruffling feathers. And I don't mind if people see that, but from big business perspective, they get hurt, I think, most by the dislike counter, because if they do some bad marketing campaign and everyone just dislike bombs it, it makes their product and that company look bad, and that costs them a lot of money and YouTube a lot of money, because they're not going to want to advertise on YouTube if they get dislike bombed. And that's what dislikes about. I know the official stance was, hey, these small creators were getting hurt because of dislikes, and I'm like right, like the comment section is what hurts the most. I mean, I have pretty thick skin, being, obviously 40 years old, but yeah, I mean, if you can't handle the dislike button, YouTube comments are gonna basically make you cry, and you're gonna curl up in a corner somewhere and rock back and forth because of what people have said. I mean, you got some terrible comments that make it in, like horrible, like what things you would never say to a person in real life. And that you talk about some mental anguish, that'll cause anybody some. So to me, that's what the whole dislike thing, they won't ever come out and say that, but that's what's up. It's all about money at the end of the day. Yeah. But yeah, the official stance was small creators were getting dislike bombed. And I'm like, that actually helps the small creator. Even if it's a dislike bomb, it's still engagement. And if they're so small that they're practically getting no views, someone dislike bombing them is actually going to draw more attention and more views their way. And it's probably going to help them more than it hurts them. So again, it didn't make any sense to me. Like the official stance from YouTube, I thought was such BS. Or, you know what, even better, the correct stance to this right here is this one right here. Yeah. Such a great profile pic. That's true. Oh man, you win the internet today, man. Thanks for putting a smile on my face. Oh my gosh. Hove, everything good with you? I'm good, man. Yeah. And that's okay, you know. Some videos you make just because that's your opinion, even though you know the hardest thing for folks to do is to make a video that they know is going to be not well received universally. And that's a video I think you have to make sometimes. That was part 2 for me, and I knew it wasn't going to do well, and I didn't want it to really do that well, just because I don't want Linus to see me basically blasting him. So that's why I put it on my second channel. So that way the people that follow me can see that video without it kind of reaching the masses, so to speak. Probably one of the best and also scariest things that can ever happen is you have a video go viral. I know a lot of people aspire to that, but whenever you get like mass critical people watching your videos, you get everybody. And yeah, sometimes that's not a good thing. Doesn't feel good from the comments, let's just say that. I'm a pen tester and I have so many works to do with VMs. Can you please help me fix an issue? I get asked a lot about tech support. I really don't do any tech support offline. I still have my day job, and I literally am just drowning in work. So sadly, I can't really help too much with that. I'd still obviously do these fun projects like today's live stream, but I don't really take on any extra work past that. Sometimes any extra time I have, I usually dedicate to my website and try and talk to folks over there. This past week, obviously, I've been kind of MIA with everything going on, but you know, it's just how it goes. It's true. There's a lot of truth. No such thing. You can see like the drama YouTubers and stuff. They've made an entire thing about that. That's awesome. I'm just glad someone made some tool to be able to get around the dislike button disappearing. Yeah, I moved that to the Titus Tech Talk channel just so people, like the people that really want to see it, they can see it. But I knew most people, like if you're a Windows user, you ain't gonna like that video because you're not gonna understand it. And you're not gonna understand my animosity towards part 2. I just didn't think it was a very good video. I think it was just poorly done. Have you considered Greet D as more lightweight alternative? Yeah, you know what, Andre? I'm all for that. I think, honestly, that's a better idea. And I'm going to mark that down because there's no real reason to do SDDM other than I do like the theming in SDDM, specifically the Nordic theme, which I didn't get to today. But we did do some of the bit, but I do like the Nordic SDDM theme the best. It looks pretty slick, and it blends really well with the environment. Trial and error, man. Usually test environments. I say always set up test environments, be testing what you're doing, and have fun with it. A lot of people think that I learned a lot of it from professional work, but a lot of it, one, I'm very fortunate since I have dealt with server Linux for such a long time. It gives me a leg up because if I get tired of like the GUI, I'm just like, whatever, fine, I'll just purge everything and then move to the CLI for a bit and then switch to something else. But I think just test environments, that's the big thing. Grab some old hardware you have. It can be a Raspberry Pi. I think that's a fantastic tool to learn Linux on, or anything. I mean, old router, you could learn Linux. That's actually the first time I learned Linux or started to learn Linux, I should say, was routers. A lot of it is Unix based, and that's kind of one of the big things here. All right, yeah, Zero, I'll check it out. Is it on your GitHub? Appreciate the super chat too. Because I'm looking for a Nordic grub theme. I think that'd be pretty cool. I'll hit it up, man. Do you have a QEMU tutorial video? You know, I think I need to make one. I don't think I have one of those, and that's something I have been really working to. Give me some tip on VMs work smooth in Linux. Oh, okay. Yeah, use QEMU, KVM. You know what? And let me help you out real fast here. I think I had this right here is Debian. These are pretty much exactly what I do to make it all work. Sometimes I'll pull up something, but this one right here is solid. It's from Linux Tech Eye. I don't know the website, but I usually can flip through, but this one's so good. It has a lot of things that a lot of guides miss, specifically network starting and auto start. A lot of times people will go ahead and launch QEMU, and then all of a sudden they'll reboot their computer and try to start up their VM and go, oh crap, it says there's no default network. And then you're like, It's because this didn't get done. So there's a lot of really cool optimizations. This one I looked through and I was like, this is a solid guide. I should probably just copy and paste it onto my website. But now you know where all those things, there's probably some things that gets a little long-winded in parts that you don't necessarily need to make. Like the Linux bridge here, you probably don't need to do any of this. Most of that will be done by default. Yeah, I think pretty much that's it. I'll look through this and maybe make like a cleaner version, but that should at least get you going. And I would skip this section right here. There's really no reason to do any of that, I don't think. Yeah. Should be fine. Hope that helps you out. Hey, David, how you doing? How's your new helper doing? Need to rewatch the stream later. Just new. Oh, good stuff, David. Helper's doing great at my job. Like, so good. Like, if my boss sees this live stream, you should just fire me now. He's great. But it's nice. He's very, very good at picking up stuff. Like, we moved Fizmo roles the other day, and I was real impressed. I thought that was really cool. He picked up on it really good, which Fizmo roles, if you're ever moving like domain controllers, I think we're going from like server 2016 to 2019. And I was like, let's go ahead and move the Fizmo roles and understanding like primary domain controllers and those types of things in Windows. So I kind of showed him that and he picked right up on it, man. It was great. And I was just like, there's a couple things you should know. Just a couple like warning, like putting the guardrails on so much, like NTDS util. Some people that ever work on server utilities, Windows Server specifically, a lot of guides say NTDS util, run this command. I'm like, oh no. That's a good way to break Active Directory if you do something wrong. So I told him, no, you want to put guardrails on and do it this way, and just showed him the methods I would use to move Fizmo roles and then just let him do it. And he did a great job. So teaching him that and then just some of the basic infrastructure and where things are going. But he's doing great. Freaking probably, I'm just going to say not probably. He's definitely the best hire I've ever done, which is saying something. I've hired like 100-something people over the past 20 years. So that's awesome. Right now I'm using Debian. So almost all my Linux stuff is basically using Debian. From production standpoint, Windows. From video editing standpoint, Mac with Final Cut Pro. Those are kind of my things. Use Quick EMU. What's Quick EMU? I'm always finding something new. Quick EMU. Quickly create and run. Huh. That's cool. Check this out. Dreamcat said use this. Run optimized Windows, Mac OS, and Linux desktop. Oh. How did I not hear about this? What? All right. It's got its own PPA. So it is Ubuntu based. But you can do a full-blown version here. That's not bad. All right, that's something to explore. Let me star that. Quick EMU. Sweet. Yeah. We'll check that out. I'll put that on my list. Let's go Quick EMU. And we'll toss that in there. Nice. Definitely look that up. FAD. Thanks to your channel, I save hours every month fixing my grandma's Windows installation. I can proudly say that the oldest Linux Mint user from my country is from PowerGAN. Awesome, man. I'm glad. That's good to hear. Let's see here. Let's go through some more questions. Why do you prefer Debian? Because it's stable. It's very, very clean. Everything's based on it. Ubuntu, Elementary, Pop OS, all of them. are based on Debian one way or another. Linux Mint, all of them are Debian at their core. It's just stuff tacked on top. So I like to just take a very base server install of Debian and then just build what I want on top of it. And it gets a very, very stable, more of a server-based approach, but I can add any GUI elements that I want, and it's just great. I love it. You can do the same thing in Arch too, like I did with Arch Titus, although I tacked on a ton of crap to Arch Titus. Again, if you're interested in Arch, I say check out... you can try Arch Titus just to kind of see that script run in its place, but there was an EasyNix, I think, did another great video on it as well. Oh, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. I'm glad. Need to do that. David, thanks so much, man. David was actually my first Patreon member of all time. I remember. All the way back, what was it, January 2019. Oh, man. Back when I did Patreon. I don't have a QEMU video, but I will definitely get to it for sure. How can we get Debian for Raspberry Pi repaired sooner? It's a little bit trickier on Raspberry Pi because it's ARM architecture. So you pretty much want to be rolling with Raspbian because it's all optimized around the Pi. So that's the big thing. However, there is an ARM-based version of Arch. So if you want more bleeding edge or you want quicker repairs or quicker, newer packages, check out the Arch Linux spin of Arch Linux ARM, because it's actually pretty old at these times. I mean, Arch Linux ARM has been around for at least 10 years. I remember getting like a Seagate. It was like a really janky NAS that... didn't work all that great, but you look at it and it had enough of an operating system that I was able to flash Arch Linux ARM on it. And this would have been probably 2012, something like that. It's almost 10 years ago. And I remember loading Arch Linux ARM on a Seagate external drive, basically with some NAS capabilities, wiping out all that Seagate garbage that came with it, and just having vanilla Linux that could run like a really small web server. But yeah, you could use that on Raspberry Pi as well. Linux, Windows, and Mac. But yes, I'm using Debian on my Linux side. Yeah, I have like a little Minecraft server, but I need to probably do some type of thing like that. It's just keeping up with the Discord can be rough. Can be rough. Oh yeah, Ventoy is awesome. I absolutely love Ventoy. Use it all the time. It is by far the best. Which Linux if you have to ask what distro, I always say Linux Mint. It's probably the best beginner distro out there. Armbian. Oh, I'll have to check that one out. I haven't seen that. I have tried Diet Pi. Pretty good. A lot better than the stock Raspberry Pi desktop. I did like Diet Pi. It was solid. Should we install that? I mean, that's up to you. I don't recommend it. I always say if you got to do that, I would rather build from source. Is Debian Linux or Unix? Not sure what you mean there. Usually you go with Linux or like BSD sometimes. Probably Linux Mint, I would say. It's the best, easiest on people. Are you streaming in Linux right now? Not really. Kinda. I have like some Linux in the environment, but it's a mixed environment. What is your preferred note-taking application? Notion. Notion's great. I'm tinkering with like Nextcloud, self-hosted a little bit. It's not too bad. I love WSL. It's great for devs. Like when I'm in Windows, I know a lot of people in the Linux community like to crap on WSL, but when I'm in Windows and I'm working on a project or whatever it might be, and I need to check syntax or something like that, it's so nice just to pull up a WSL prompt and go clack, 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 clack. And then I'm like, oh, okay, no, that syntax is good, or that shell script is good. And I don't have to worry about all of it. So I like that. I really like WSL. I don't know why people crap on it. It's not like it's ever going to kill Linux, but it's a good convenience to where I don't need to like dual boot or do it like an SSH into a server and go, okay, I'm in a Linux thing, and then do it. If you're doing like hardcore development, I think you still have to pretty much have a Linux box. But yeah, WSL is nice. It's a nice feature. I don't know why so many people crap on it. What do you recommend as a beginner Linux project? Oh man, probably I would say, Arch Linux itself is a good little project. I think that learning about that, but changing like the bootloader around, learning about bootloaders, I think is something that a lot of people miss, and it can save your bacon if you know about it ahead of time. It's fun to tinker around with. And then setting up a full QEMU. We talked a lot about virtualization in this stream, but the whole QEMU setup is so powerful because it gives you that test environment I'm talking about. Like, let's say you don't have that big, crazy setup that I have, and you just have one decent computer. Load up QEMU on it in Linux, and then you can spin up Windows, Mac, whatever it is, and then you can tinker around and learn about all the environments, all the things, and it's so great. It's so awesome. So, great. Yeah, you never want to use WSL 1's garbage, hot garbage. WSL 2's great. If you're going to do graphics, look into WSL-G. By default, you can do it pretty much on Windows 11, but you do have to download specific drivers, depending on your graphics card, to get the graphics acceleration in WSL2. But yes, you should always be using WSL2. Set it as your default. I think it's like WSL-set-default to WSL2. And you always want to be doing that. Should be, yeah, Linux subsystem for Windows. I don't know why it's called WSL. Windows Subsystem for Linux. Yeah, it should be Linux Subsystem for Windows. Yeah, that is weird, Cat Daddy. It's great. Thanks for stopping by, Lars. Pi-hole server's fun. Yeah, that is. That's a good one. Or learning Docker. Running everything in Docker. Understanding Docker's a big one. Love it. What's your favorite backup system? Fan of Borg? Borg's good. Mine's more commercial. You'd be surprised. I really like Veeam. We actually did a backup of one of the servers using Veeam, and I was like, well, that's as simple as you get, and it just works good. So I really do like Veeam a lot. As far as like images, like full-blown images, CloneZilla's great. I love my Synology box has a really good imager too. I've used it extensively. Active Backup for Business, I think is what it's called, but you can use it on pretty much any Windows box. It's great. It's awesome. Yeah, VMware is going to probably do everything a little bit better. It's kind of like their thing. There's a reason why it's the market leader. Is Linux work mostly server maintenance? Yeah, you like. I was in Linux for, I don't know, 14, 15 years, really. I mean, sure, I installed Ubuntu desktop and some other stuff, but really, like, before I actually started using desktop, I was probably in Linux for like 15 years in the CLI. Rarely did I ever see a GUI. And that's just where Linux shines. You know, it's the king of that. LSW versus WSL. Marketing is everything. Microsoft always puts Windows first. Yeah. That's a good one, Don. But yeah, that's the one thing Microsoft does good is marketing. They are good at it. I mean, I will say, man, some of their offerings, like if you look at like SharePoint and a lot of the things that they have, so many like Yammer and all these other weird O365 applications in the cloud, man, their ecosystem is so disjointed, that is so funky, that they could do a lot better job with marketing. They should be like way more dominant than they are. Like I say, Apple, for what they do, they have such a cohesive ecosystem that kind of complements each other. It's kind of impressive. But Microsoft, man, there's just so much. There's such a massive ecosystem, but it's so disjointed. Like all these weird things and projects that they have, it never really gels very well. But they do a decent job of marketing. I will say that. I think they understood Windows 10 needed to go because people starting to get a little long in the tooth. They're like, well, let's just slap 11 on it, throw a new coat of paint, and then we can charge people more money, and we get a refresh of that feeling. Although I will say I haven't really enjoyed a lot of it. Depends on the hardware that TinyCore's on. But yes, you can game on any Linux install. It's just a matter of whatever it is. Favorite Linux creators? Linux Experiment, I think, does a pretty good job. Jason Evangelo over at Linux for Everyone does good. For some of the commentary, like Gardner Bryant, I like. Sometimes I'll catch up. DistroTube, I don't have much time. Like, he's a little bit longer on the videos, and I don't have much time to watch a lot of that stuff. Luke Smith occasionally does like a crazy video, and I'll watch him, but not too much as far as Linux creators. It's kind of like seeing, I think, less maybe. Maybe it's just me getting tired. But it does, you know, there's a lot of good ones on YouTube. Ansible playbooks are amazing for setting up. I've used it, but I'm not very good with them. I need to use them a lot more. But a lot of times I'm just kind of like, I want to do it the old school way, like write a script or something like that. But Ansible's amazing. I say definitely use it. It's great. Can you use all those robotic effects in Linux when streaming? Yeah, I mean, you can do pretty much a lot of that stuff. I really like GIMP for a lot of graphic effects and things like that. Blender is an amazing program, badly misunderstood and a bit more complex than you'd think. But I did take like an hour Blender tutorial just so I could move that stupid box that you start with. But it's kind of cool. There's a lot of really neat things that Linux has. It just, like I said, it's more about the adoption that you just don't get. If you build from source, then Arch and Deb are the same for stability. Yeah, source is the key to everything. Like, this build in Debian is more of transplanting what someone did in Arch. And why someone hadn't already done it in Debian is mainly because, like, Rofi's on an old package, Polybar's not there. There's some packages that are missing, and what I do when I run into that missing package is I just go to that GitHub. They usually have build instructions, and then I just build the package and install it. And you can actually package that up in like a deb file and then just toss that on your GitHub, and you ever need to reinstall it, then it's just a simple dpackage space -i space the package name, and you're done. Pretty cool. There's a TikTok about learning new programs. I don't know how much you can fit in 60 seconds. I'd like to see that. It'd be interesting. Oh, yeah. I always miss people. Learn Linux TV is great, too. Also, Tom over at Lawrence PC Systems. I don't think he does many Linux videos, but he's a Linux guy. He just does mostly like Unify and those types of things. But both of them actually have a cool podcast that I actually listen to. So it's cool. They'll talk about all kinds of different things, and it's neat. I like both those guys. I actually did a video on how to make it stable. Basically, don't use the AUR as much. Favorite package manager? Zypper. Zypper's my favorite package manager from a syntax standpoint, which is actually, Zypper comes with SUSE, and it's so simple. It's Zypper install package name. Zypper uninstall or remove. It's been a while, but it has really simple syntax, which is great. As far as utility goes, I'd have to probably say DNF from Fedora has one of the best utility-based package managers, because DNF does it in, they don't download the entire package, they can do it in pieces, and it's not nearly as bad, so it's really cool. Do you think Linux gaming will be there by the end of Windows 10 lifetime? Probably. I think it'll be a lot further along. Like, this past 2-3 years, even though I've kind of crapped on Linux gaming a lot lately, it's just a reality check for folks. I don't want to give people the wrong impression. And it's come a long ways. From when I first visited it in 2019, I mean, we're talking half of the games that were supported now were supported then. So it's come a long ways, and it's made some big strides. It's going to take several more years before we really get there. I don't think it'll ever catch completely up with Windows, but I think it'll get good enough. And if the Steam Deck, I really hope the Steam Deck's really popular, because that would be 1 million, 2 million users that would now be able to get it. And that will do a lot. People will be like, oh, there's this other ecosystem that has 1 million users on it. I want to make my game available for that. So that will be really good for Linux. What do you think of graphics stacks GUI programs on Linux? It's a bit disjointed. I bet you're talking about like GTK, Qt, all of that. It's not very consistent, which can be aggravating at times. But overall, it's fine. I mean, like the beauty of it is you can build what you want, and that's what I like the most about it. I mean, yeah, you do get it stapled together and stuff. It's fine though. It depends on what I'm doing. There's times where I prefer Arch. There's times where I prefer Debian. But if it's just like a production system strictly for work, Debian every day of the week. For people who want to learn Arch, you need to check out Arco Linux. Yeah, Arco Linux is probably one of my favorite ones for sure. I like Arco a bit better than Manjaro. A lot of noobs go to Manjaro, but honestly, Arco has, I want to say it has like 30 spins or something ridiculous. I think I grabbed a bunch of Arco's GitHub when I started looking at a BSPWM, and I looked at a lot of their syntax, and I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. How'd they do that? And that's the beauty of open source, is you can kind of see what everyone else is doing. So Arco Linux is great. Like I said, they have a really good team over there. They've done some really amazing work. And even if you don't use it, check out their GitHub and seeing what they've done. Specifically, I was looking at them for BSPWM, and it was very impressive. Very impressive. Oh yeah, Brody. Oh man, Brody's great. He has some really good obscure videos. I remember when he was like crapping on DD and saying use cat to burn an image, or he also had some really just cool stuff. Brody's cool. He has some good videos here and there. I don't catch all his stuff, but sometimes he has some really engaging, unique videos, which I think are great. How often do you update? You have to pretty much update every couple weeks. You go longer than a couple weeks, you really shouldn't use Arch. Yeah, so yeah, desktops, I think SteamOS is going to really get it. I think they're looking, and I think them doing the immutable file system, everything I hear coming out about it, I'm really jazzed. I think they're going to be some really good changes. Gen 2 is going to be a waste of time for many, but it can be a good learning experience. I like the fact you can build the kernel and really make a minimal install. They're great for like setting up, let's say, a kiosk, or maybe a menu for like a restaurant that you want a really, really small install with not very many options, so you can make a really, really tiny kernel, toss Gen 2 on it. I mean, hell, Chrome OS built their whole system on Gen 2, so pretty cool. Croatia. Hello, Peter. Say hello to Jason Evangelo if you run into him. I know he's out in Croatia too. One of the biggest problems of Linux gaming is making the experience simple. Yeah, it's not really that simple, but I mean, it just depends on the user. I think you could get a big company like Valve or somebody like that come in and really do a lot for it. I think that it's going to take a big company to make it simple, though. All right, guys. Well, I am going to turn in for the day. Thank you all for coming out. This was a blast of a stream, getting back into it. I did a couple commits on here. I'm just going to keep poking away at this system. And you kind of could see how we built and kind of replicated what I'm doing here directly in that VM. And this is going to take a couple times. Usually you go through, kind of rough cut it, and then after that's done, you wipe it out, and then you rough cut it again, and then you might build onto it. So it's a slow build like that. So I usually just do it in these sprints where we go, okay, I've got kind of what I want. and then I just kind of go through, rough cut what I'm doing, try it in a VM, and then I usually just delete that whole VM and then reinstall it all, and just kind of keep doing that over and over until we get a really solid product at the end. But it's cool stream, good talk with everybody, catching up. For those that had the holidays, you know, is nice. A little bit weird for me coming back, as I'm still not 100%, still like just exhausted. But thanks so much, guys. Thanks for all the super chats and new members that joined. And with that, guys, I'll see you next Friday. If you're on, I'm going to be doing an early stream for next Friday at 9 a.m. Central Time. And if not, maybe next week. I'll catch you on next Tuesday. With that, I'll see you all in the next one. Take it easy.